Hey, Mark.
Hey.
You can't really tell anything from that 30 minutes of open shooting, obviously.
Good.
I know. You didn't give anything away. But it just seemed like the group is very loose, as you'd expect them to be, even though you have, most of your guys have not been on this stage, obviously. How have they handled the build up to this, and how do you think they'll handle the different feeling that is coming, even though they're at home tomorrow night? It's just going to feel different. How is this group wired to handle that?
Well, the first thing is we have to be who we are, and we enjoy coming to work every day. That's how our facility is, regardless of whether or not it's the finals or regardless of or whether or not anybody else is there. And I encourage them to be that. We have to stay true to who we are in this whole experience. And then we have to acknowledge the things that are different. There's a lot of different elements around the game. And we also have to understand the things that are the same. And when the ball goes up in the air, the game's going to come down to the same things. Whether or not you win or lose is going to come down to the same things. And it's okay to acknowledge that it's going to feel a little different outside the lines, but we have to understand it's going to be the same inside the lines, and that needs to be our focus.
On your right, Simone in the front.
Oklahoma City is a unique NBA market. Can you talk about the impact of the Thunder on the city and vice versa, the impact on the fan base, which is obviously a great fan base on the club?
Well, the people that have been here since the beginning can speak better to what the team has meant for the growth of the city. The city's a lot different than it was when the team first moved here, which is a credit to Mr. Bennett and the vision that he had for what this team could mean to the community. And the community and the team have just a very unique relationship. It's the only professional sports team in town. The fans are unbelievably enthusiastic about the team. And I've said this many times before, but when we were rebuilding and we were winning a lot less than we were losing, the support and encouragement we got from our fans was really telling. And I think it's had a lot to do with our ability to develop young players. Because when you're a young player in the NBA, you're trying to find your footing. You're trying to establish yourself. There's a lot of, you could be uneasy about that process. And to be in a market where everybody is rooting for you, everybody's supporting you, everybody's encouraging you, and you feel that at the games and in the community, I honestly think that has an impact on our player development. I think our young players have grown up faster and have performed better because they exist in this market.
On your left, fourth row.
Mark Ariaga from ESPN Brazil. You've been here for 5 years, and the early years were certainly challenged, like you just said. And this roster was built piece by piece. I would like to know and what point did you realize that this team was really competing for the title?
There were very early flickers, even in those early years. Those were challenging years at different times, and certainly they look like challenging years on paper. They didn't feel, they were not, how it felt every day was not a reflection of our record or where our standing was in the league. You could feel that something was starting to simmer. You could feel that some of the seeds we were planting were going to be flowering at some point. There were very early indications of that, even in those seasons. And so we were confident even back then, not necessarily that we'd be in the finals right now. You never know the timing of when things come together, but we were confident that we were building something special and something that had the ability to sustain. And then as time went on, there were just more and more experiences that gave us more and more confidence in that. But that belief existed at the earliest point in time. A lot of that had to do with the way the guys were approaching every day, independent of the outcomes of the games, and the way the guys were competing together, regardless of what the final score was in some of the games. There was an uncommon approach that our team was taking, and it gave us a lot of confidence early on.
All the way back on the right, Jeff.
Jeff Zilgett, USA Today. Mark, Rick Carlisle has had a pretty solid 2.5-decade run as a coach in this league. What has stood out to you about him in terms of his longevity, ability to adapt to different teams, personnel, and eras?
I mean, I can't say enough about him and the respect I have for him. I think the whole is better than the sum of the parts, almost consistently across every year he's ever coached. The team is better than their sum. I think that's a reflection of him. His teams play with a very clear identity. They stay in character. through all the ups and downs. That identity has changed over the years based on his teams, based on the league trends. But his teams are always in character, and this year is certainly no exception. And his players play with a lot of confidence. His best players play with a lot of confidence, and role players play with a lot of confidence. And they all seem to operate on the high end of their capacity when they're playing with him. So, he's got unbelievable endurance in the league. And what I'd also say is, like, he's kind of out in front of some trends in the NBA right now. And to be somebody that has the experiences that he has, that's very impressive that he's been able to evolve and be a trendsetter, even as he's been one of the longest tenured people in the NBA.
On your left, Nick.
Mark, obviously turnovers have been a huge storyline for your defense all year, but also you've forced teams into shooting really low percentages throughout the season. As you go up against a team that's shot it extremely well all year, including here in the playoffs, what are some of the key fundamentals defensively that you all are going to need to lean into to kind of combat that battle? I mean,
they're a tall task. The fundamentals are not complicated. It's not like we're out here emphasizing new things. We're not inventing anything this week. Their attack is very simple. The theoretical way to stop it is simple, and in reality, it's very difficult to do, as you can see from the way that they've really had their way with everybody. It's one thing to understand what they're doing and one thing to understand what you need to do. It's quite another to execute it, and that's what makes them really hard to play against. I mean, they pump a 99-mile-an-hour fastball at you, and you can prepare all you want for that, but when you're in the batter's box, it's different when it's time to hit it, so it's going to be a very tall challenge.
Second row over here.
Coach, I know you spent over a decade in Oklahoma City, but from a kid from Leominster, Massachusetts, to the NBA Finals, how surreal is it, coming from all the way from Leominster to here, to the Finals?
It's awesome. It's awesome for everybody. There's every single person that's participating in this, whether it's coaches, players, staff, there was a time in their life when this was just a dream. This wasn't a foregone conclusion for them. And that's every player that's participating. There's a time where they were in their driveway shooting 1-on-0 with a basket, counting down the end of a game. And so that's what makes it so special to participate in. That's why it's such a great opportunity for everybody. We're all very humbled and grateful to be a part of it.
Last question on your right, Michael.
Michael Grange here. Just want to ask you about Pascal Siakam and what he lends to Indiana in terms of a half-court option, and do you feel you are well-suited to kind of countering that defensively?
Easier said than done, just like I talked about their team, but great versatility on both ends of the floor offensively. He can play in the pick-and-roll game as a handler or a setter. He's an isolation player that can go get them a high-quality shot. He can get fouled. He can post smaller matchups. He's kind of a matchup problem, quite frankly, on that end. And then defensively, he's one of their best help defenders. He's always eating space like all the great help defenders. He's got great length. He can also play on the ball. He can play outside and inside. He's about as rangy and versatile of a player as you can get at that position. So somebody we have high respect for, and obviously a huge part of the series.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thanks.
From the beginning of the rebuild to now, you and Sam always seem to be sort of on the same page with what the plan was. Can you just explain maybe how that level of understanding between you guys got your team here?
Honest and upfront with me from day one. I think that helped our relationship right away. You don't get that very often, especially that early. He seemed like a guy I can trust, and he's been that, and I just try to be the same back to him. Nothing more than just two guys with good character, trusting each other, and have one common goal in mind.
Over here, standing on the left.
Jared McCain, I'm the NBA player correspondent. I'm big into the mental side of basketball, of sports, of life, and visualization, meditation, and stuff I do every day. And I just want to know, what do you do on the mental side of it to stay prepared, stay focused in these high-pressure situations?
Good question. I completely plug out. I turn my TV off so there's no basketball highlights going. I don't watch basketball. I just spend time with my family, my friends, and I try to remove myself completely from basketball because it just consumes so much of my life and my day. And then, like, when it's time to plug back into it, I'm eager to get back into it like I missed it. So, yeah, I just try to find, like, a balance of plugging it in and out of it.
Over in the right, second row.
Shai, Tim Reynolds with the AP. You guys have obviously handled your business very professionally this year, but you also have a lot of fun. The way you guys play, the way you guys play for one another. Do you think it's going to be difficult to keep that sense of fun, even though you're now playing for the title? It's the finals, it's the big stage. How will you guys stay true to who you are in this huge environment?
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice. Staying true to who we are is the reason why we're here, and we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we changed or tried to be something we're not. Once we got here, we've had success doing so, and if we want to keep having success, we have to be who we are, and it's organic, so it's nothing like we have to think about or force. It just is who we are, no matter the moment.
Michael up front.
Shai, Michael Grange from Rogers Sportsnet. Congratulations on the
Thank
MVP.
you. Thank you.
There's 4 of you guys here this week. Yourself, Lou, Andrew, Ben, and maybe just briefly what it kind of says about Canadian basketball, what it's going to be like battling against, friends, teammates, and just when you look at your season and Steve Nash's legacy, where do you think what you've done builds on that?
Sorry, Mike. The first question was
just what it's like going to be battling against
Yes.
and with friends at a stage like this.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Like you said, like playing with those guys. Like I played against Andrew when I was 9 years old. Like it's been an amazing journey, and to see him having success, my own success, obviously Lou's success, Ben's success, like it's special. It's hard to even wrap your head around just kids that. Like, there's so many kids that played in the same games that we played, and for us to make it to this stage is a testament to our hard work, our character, the people around us that help us get here, and it's been a blessing. It's been super fun. And then, what did you say about Steve?
On the follow-up, I know he's been a real supporter of yours. We're not going to get into a GOAT debate, but what would it mean to take it to a next level, to win a title, and on top of an NBA MVP season?
Yeah, it would be amazing. Steve, obviously, is a pioneer for Canadian basketball. He started the whole thing, I guess you can say, from the way he plays to the way he carries himself to his approach to the game. Like, I learned so much from Steve, from being a 17-year-old kid in 2 weeks of time. That helped me get here for sure. So the things he's done with Canada basketball in a whole and just push the culture forward has been amazing. And then to win a title on top of everything that's happened this year would be special. I've said this so many times, but I don't play for the individual stuff. I don't play for anything else besides winning, and I never have my whole life. When I was 9 years old, I played to win an OBA championship. When I was 20 years old, I played to win an SEC championship, and now I'm 26 and want to win an NBA championship. Like, it's always about winning for me.
On your left over here, Joel.
Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Shai, you told us after Game 7 of the Denver series that you had been nervous in the day or two leading up to it. What are you sort of feeling as the series approaches, and how difficult is it to, as you say, sort of plug in and plug out this week?
Yeah, it's been a little bit different in that situation. Situation I've never been in before, obviously, but it's been fun. As these playoffs go on, you get better in controlling the situations, controlling your emotions. You understand what's coming, but it's been fun. Like, the opportunities here. It's been a long week to wait. Feels like the days have gone slow, but yeah, I figured out how to navigate through all the emotions and the nerves and the waiting process, which is just plug into my loved ones, try to not think about it so much, stress about it so much, and just enjoy life and stay in the moment.
Fourth row on the right, Vinny.
Shai, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. You guys have had a historic season so far, 68 wins, the double-digit wins, the road to the finals. Have you had a moment to reflect on being on the doorstep of history in this time since the conference finals have been? There's a lot of idle time, a lot of time to sit with your thoughts. Do you have a chance to even appreciate getting here, appreciate how dominant this team has been this season?
Honestly, not really. I've been so focused on like just game one, trying to be the best version of myself for this group, and try to make sure that we're clicking on all cylinders on the biggest stage of our careers has been the front of my mind and all I've been really worried about when I do worry about basketball. So yeah, to answer your question, I haven't really taken the time to look back, see all the things we've done, but I will when it's all over for sure.
Dan, last question here on the left side.
Che, Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. You guys have faced some fantastic offenses in your road through the Western Conference. Now you deal with the Pacers. What makes them different? What kind of challenges do they pose that are maybe a little bit different from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, like you said, every team has their strengths and their weaknesses. They're a very fast team. I think, like above all, they understand how they're playing, and they're very like stubborn in their approach, and they kind of like grind you with the way they play, and they like wear you down. And you don't get here without being a really good team on both ends, and they're that. And we know that coming into the game. But yeah, they're very they know their identity and they stick to it no matter what.
Thank you. Thank you.
Being such a young team, there were some questions about how inexperience might play against you. How you guys handled that, and how was Mark's role? How Mark play against those concerns?
We try not to feed too much into what the media has to say in regards to inexperience, and I guess the thing early in the year was like being too young. When you're young, I feel like we just kind of use it to our advantage. Like we try not to look at what we can't do and just focus on what we can do and be really good at that. And I think Mark has done a really good job of instilling that in us since I've been here for the past 3 years. And it's just something that we get harped on a lot in the thing. And as we grow through these experiences, young or not, you know, when you can learn from whatever situation you're thrown in, it makes you better. And I think that's why we're here right now in this moment.
Again, same row in the center.
Hey, Jalen, drafteados from Spain. I was going to ask you about that too, because we talk a lot with an Spanish ex-NBA player, and he always says that character means more than experience in the playoffs. And I think you guys, being such a young group, really embody that. So how do you feel about that statement?
No, I think it's true. I think, honestly, if you look at both teams, you look at Indiana and you do a closer look on them, they're like us. Like, you can see the team chemistry they have. You can see that they love playing with each other and they enjoy being in these moments together. And I think that's starting to look like what the blueprint of the NBA is. When you get a group of guys that like playing with each other and like doing stuff for each other and just are constantly willing to like make the extra sacrifices, the extra plays for each other while we go through these ups and downs of the season, I think that's what makes you a good team.
Steve, on your right.
Hi, Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. You draw duty defensively where you're asked to guard smaller, guard bigger. I'm just wondering, what prepared you to be able to handle those type of demands, and any key ingredients to actually being successful at that?
God had me grow at the right time in college. So I was short for a long time, so I was guarding little guards, and then obviously I grew. And I think that kind of helped. Obviously, the taller you are, you can guard more positions. The Thunder did a really good job, I think, grooming me into that. Just throughout my first year, they just put me in so many different situations, and I was able to learn from them and get better through the situations. And I think I was in a really good position to where, like, as a rookie, I was able to do, like, trial and error and do a bunch of stuff like that. So when I get to these moments now, I've had more years under my belt to, like, learn how to guard bigger guys, learn how to guard smaller guards. So I've been able to, like, grow through the process of doing that. And then defense is a mentality, too. Like, regardless of who you're guarding, if you go out there and compete, you know, you could be pretty good defensively.
Over here on the left, Joel.
Joel Lorenzi, the Oklahoman. Dub, you said after the Denver series, I believe, that you hadn't really slept leading up to Game 7. How have you sort of handled the emotions leading up to the series? How have you digested this, and have you had time to sort of put into perspective, what it means for you to be in the finals in year 3?
I haven't really wrapped my head around the fact that I'm in the finals. I did like the correspondence thing 2 years ago, or I guess like a year ago. No, 2 years ago, right? Yeah, 2 years ago. And it feels like life has been such a blur since that. I'm still trying to like get over the fact that my brother's in the NBA. Like there's so many like things that have happened since then that I'm still trying to take in. So it's definitely a blessing that we're here. And I try not to get too caught up in it because we still have a job to do, and I'm trying to like really focus on that. But it is, whenever I can like get a couple days off to like really look at it, and this past week, like I've been able to like really just be able to take a step back and just look at how far I came.
Standing on the right, Dan.
Jalen, Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. As you've had this sort of longer layoff and opportunity to get a closer look at Indiana, look at them, what sort of leapt off the screen about the way they operate offensively? What makes them maybe a different challenge than some of the other offenses that you've dealt with so far?
I think everybody's seen it. I don't want to give too much away, but they obviously play fast. That's their thing, and so you kind of got to tip your hat to them. The playoffs is just historically something that really slows down pace, so for them to be able to impose their will on that, and obviously win the last 3 series they played, doing how they want to do it, I think is really impressive. So that's what we've kind of like seen, and I don't think that's really like a big secret, but that's where they're unique.
Fourth row, Vince.
Jalen, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. It wasn't like you guys are just sort of coming out of nowhere. You were a pretty good team last year, but you're so much more dominant this year with the net rating, the point differential, and everything else. Was there a moment, or have you taken a moment to appreciate how dominant you guys have been? You've had a lot of blowouts. There's been a lot of instances where you've sat the fourth quarter. Has there been a moment of even reflection through this in the locker room saying, guys, this is different than last year?
I think maybe like middle of the year. I think not having bigs, like you remember like Hart and Chet were out for like a good majority of the season too. I think for us to be as successful as we were during that, I think was a big moment for us. But at the same time, it's a very like weird position you get put in because you want to look back at the regular season, but you really don't get any regular season awards. You know what I mean? So, and I think just the playoffs come up so fast, you can't really look back at it. So hopefully, we're trying to win the finals. That's where where our focus is, and we can look back on this later on, but I would just say the middle of the year was more like where our confidence got going from that.
Third row on your right.
Hey, Jalen. Scott Campbell from The Score. I'm just curious, playing alongside Shai as long as you have, what's the biggest thing you've learned from even being around him, playing with him, anything like that?
His mentality. He's just a winner. Like, he just has a I'm going to get it done mentality, and I think that's kind of rubbed off on the rest of the team. You can always see he doesn't make excuses, and I think that just bleeds over into the team. So I would say I've probably taken that from him, and I think I think that's where he's grown up to, just as a leader. And I'm not saying that he wasn't early on in his career, but I think just for our team, he's been really good leading us that way, and he's a good lead by example.
David Aldridge in the back right.
Okay, told you who I am. The success on the court obviously expresses itself in terms of bringing you guys closer. But I wonder, how has the city and the region kind of gotten into everybody's skin to feel like this is a great place to be, this is a great place to operate?
I've honestly felt like the energy from the city since I've been drafted. Like, when I got here, there was a ton of people outside the hotel, like, waiting to see us and congratulate us. I always compare it to, like, a small local, like, high school football team being really good, and the city around them kind of like gathers around them. Like, that's how Oklahoma is. But it's with like the whole state. Like, everywhere we go, I've been met with like love since I've been out here, and it's been a really cool experience. So I'm really happy that I get to be a part. Even the past 2 years, like, I get to be a part of 2 really good teams, and I think it just brings the city more and more life. And I'm happy that we get to like bring that back to here.
Over here in the fourth row, third seat in. There you go.
Hey, Jalen. Esper Heaney from NBA Daily. Wanted to ask you, obviously the playoffs have their ebbs and flows, and that can be long in its own way. What have you learned about your game over the last couple of months?
I wouldn't say I've learned anything new about my game, but I think what I've learned is there's highs and lows with every series. There's highs and lows with every game. And the more that you can stay even throughout it all, the better off you'll be. And I think that's where I found a lot of my success.
Thank you, Jalen.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Up next, we'll have
from Spain. Alex Caruso won the championship 5 years ago when you were 18, and now is your teammate here. Can you tell us what's the most important thing that you learned from Caruso this year?
One of the most important things that he's come in here and taught us is the importance of executing the details. You'll see so many times he makes a huge play out there, and it really comes down to inches. Was he in the right spot by a few inches? Was he able to reach the ball and poke it away by a few inches? And that comes down to knowing where you need to be and when you need to be there, what you need to do, and how to execute it. And he's really come in and preached the importance of that and kind of shown us firsthand what that looks like. And it's been big. It's helped all of us, and it's been big having him.
Joe here in the second row.
Hey, Chet. Joe Varden from The Athletic. Nice to see you. What is the pressure that the Pacers put on opposing bigs with just having 5 guys who can shoot threes?
Yeah. I think I can speak firsthand on this as, we can do similar things at times with some of the ways that we play. It really opens up the floor, and it's not even so much about opening up the floor and being able to attack just the 5. It comes down to opening up the floor for everybody else to be able to attack as well. So, it really comes down to being able to play solid and kind of defeat the point of attack.
Scott up here on the left.
Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files over here, Chet. I'm curious, were you aware that Donnie got his start in the league as a Pacers ball boy?
Yes, I was.
Yeah?
Yep.
What kind of impact has he had on you, especially this year, trying to rehab and staying with it?
Yeah, I couldn't say enough. I've spent, respectfully, a lot more time with Donnie than I'd ever wish to. Not because Donnie's not a great dude or one of the best at his job in the NBA, just because, if you're with him, that means you're hurt. So, trying to avoid that. But he's been amazing. I don't think there's been any hiccups in any of my kind of healing processes, and he's a big part of that. So it's much appreciated.
Nick?
Chet, I just wonder what these last few days have been like for you. Mark has always talked about sort of your insatiable, unwavering hunger for more information and, to dig into this matchup and some of the fundamentals and the point of attack stuff that you were talking about earlier. What's this been like for you as, a competitor that's preparing mentally?
I mean, it's been great. I love the playoffs personally because in the regular season, you'll run into situations where the schedule is really beating another team down, and they'll kind of take a game to, reload and everything. And then, towards the end of the season, some teams are playing for certain things or have different, I guess you could say, intentions. But in the playoffs, you get everybody's best shot every single night, which, is the way you want it to be. And, it's been great to be able to learn from every single night and try and figure out how to be better for the next one. And you're also seeing the same team for 2 weeks rather than playing a new team every single night. So you're really able to take a deep dive, get into things, and, really try to – it's really like a puzzle. You got to take the time to figure it out rather than in the regular season, I feel like you're just working on your own stuff and trying to build yourself throughout the whole season. In the playoffs, it's then taking that and also trying to kind of figure out the other team.
Standing in the front right.
Where do you feel over here on your right better or more evolved as a player than you mentioned the playoffs last year's run? Where have you gotten better?
Yeah, I feel like I see the game better in different ways. Obviously, last year we had a very defined play style, and we kind of lived or died with it. And this year we have a lot of different looks that we can throw at teams. And, I feel like I still have a long ways to go, and I can improve in so many different things on both ends of the ball. But, being able to kind of see those situations and work on them, I feel like I've been able to improve on them.
Second row on the right.
Chet, Tim Reynolds with the AP. Your team, obviously, you're all young. Shai's the MVP. You're an enormous talent. Dub's an enormous talent. Lou's an enormous talent. You can keep going down the line, and yet you guys don't seem bothered at all by who the guy is at any given time. As long as you guys are winning, you guys are cool with that, and that's not common for young teams. Why do you guys make it all work?
I'd say the biggest thing is playing for each other, one, and two, the type of guys that we have here. If you ask anybody, that everybody's going to tell you that they're a winner, and everybody is a winner until it's inconvenient for them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we have a team with 17 winners that are going to put winning at the top of the totem pole over any other over anything else, really. And does that mean that you're guaranteed to win every single night? No. But when that's the main focus, and you're not working towards anything else, you're able to kind of chase that better than if you had a different perspective on it.
Standing on the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Chet, we're back here. You mentioned earlier viewing these series as sort of like a puzzle you got to put together, teams that you got to try to solve. When you look at this Indiana team, what's the most important puzzle piece you got to try to figure out to try to solve them?
That puzzle is also a secret, That's my answer. Sorry. I wish I could give you more, but.
Anyone with a final question? All right. Thank you, Chet.
Have a good one.
Short break now until the Pacers come in.
Been in the 2011 finals as an underdog, and you guys won. How do you think that experience can help you through these finals, and how to pass that to your players?
Yeah, Oklahoma City's a great team, and yeah, we're aware what's expected here, and so we've got a lot of work cut out for us. A lot of our guys have been through a lot of situations where they've been underdogs in the past, and it's simply going to come down to us being able to play our game at the best possible level. We're going to need to take care of the ball because these guys turn people over at a historic rate. And we're going to have to make some shots.
Joe, up here in the front.
Hey, Rick. There's been some discussion this week about this being a small market finals, and the Thunder were just up there, said some really cool stuff about what it's like to play here. You've had this long career and lived and worked in massive markets and small markets. What do you find is the charm of coaching and working in Indianapolis?
A lot of people talk about great places to live. When you have a good situation, you're working with great people, and your team is good, that's a great place to live. And small market, big market, it doesn't matter. I have such great respect for what Oklahoma is building here. I know Mark Daigneault pretty well, and Sam Presti and I go way back. I was invited to San Antonio's training camp in the fall of 2000 when I was headed into a year where I was going to do was take a year away, and ended up doing broadcasting stuff. But Sam Presti was an intern for the Spurs at that time. And I remember, he is from the Boston area, so he had grown up a Celtics fan. So he actually remembered when I played, which was miraculous to me. It seemed like he was probably way too young for that. But we had a couple of dinners together, and he asked me, what can I do? I gotta somehow get a job out of this. I said, well, just become a guy that they can't live without. And Sam is a great demonstration of resourcefulness and wherewithal and stuff like that. And he's forged himself a great career. He and Kevin Pritchard are two of the best franchise builders around. And so this series really should celebrate those two guys and their staffs and what they've done. But as far as the markets, I understand that there would be concern for, how many people would watch because they're smaller markets. But if we're celebrating the game and we're putting game above all, which was one of the things that Adam Silver said when he became commissioner, then it really shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't matter. And so I know that we're going to do our very best to represent our city, our state, at the best possible level. Thunder will do the same. But this really, hopefully, is about the quality of the games, and we got our work cut out for us there.
On your right, second row, Tim.
Tim Reynolds, AP. Rick, if I may ask you to put your NBCA hat on, what was your reaction yesterday when you heard about Tom?
Yeah, I get asked frequently about these things, and I always say shocked, and then sometimes you get numb and you're not shocked, but the Knicks have such a unique situation with so much attention and such a large fan base and such a worldwide following. It's one of the most difficult jobs to take. The guys that have been most successful, Red Holtzman, Pat Riley, Jeff Van Gundy, Rick Pitino had a short run, but a very effective run. And then, there were a lot of lean years, and, Tibbs went in there and changed so much. And so you look at all that, and then what happened yesterday, and when I first saw it, it came over one of the internet. I thought it was one of those fake AI things, that there's no way, there's no way possible, And I know how the players feel about him too. And so there's not much else to say. I mean, teams and ownership can make these decisions unilaterally, and it's their right to do that. And so Tom will certainly be fine. I don't think he's going to have any problem finding his next job. It's just going to depend on when he's ready to jump back in again. But I have great respect for Tibbs. I go back with him a very long way, and so I was surprised.
One follow, as you gave the anecdote yesterday of driving from Lisbon to Ogdensburg, as probably the only other guy in the room who's been to both Lisbon and Ogdensburg, I feel like I can ask this.
Wow.
Yeah, well, where you're from, guys don't go to the NBA. It doesn't produce NBA players.
Jimmy Howard had a great career as a goalie in the National Hockey League. He's from Ogdensburg.
Yes, but not the NBA.
No, it's...
Were you ever dissuaded when you were like, this is the path I want to go down? I want to play at Maine. I want to play at Virginia. I want to play big-time basketball. Did you ever think, no, I can't because nobody here has done it? How did you get past all that?
Well, one of my best friends growing up was a guy named Hal Cohen who played at Syracuse University, and he was the greatest player to ever come out of the North Country. He was 2 years ahead of me in high school, and he got a scholarship to Syracuse University. So he got a scholarship to a big-time basketball program, and I grew up playing with him all the time, competing, and it was one of the reasons that I ended up having a chance to get a Division I scholarship. I had to go to prep school to do it. I went to Worcester Academy for a year. University of Maine was my only Division I offer. Went there for 2 years, and then through a series of connections and relationships, was able to transfer to University of Virginia and play with Ralph Sampson for a year, and that changed my life forever. And had great coaching and a lot of things that were very fortunate, and ended up getting drafted by Boston in a round that no longer exists in the draft. And so a lot of things fell my way, but I worked hard too. But seeing Hal Cohen do that was something that gave a lot of people, a lot of guys in the North Country, a lot more belief about being able to go to higher levels, not just in basketball, but other sports. And I think Jimmy Howard would be another example of that.
Time for a last question. Tanya in the back.
Tanya Ganguly, New York Times. There's so much discussion about who's the next face of the league. I've even seen it phrased as like an existential question for the league after Steph and LeBron retire. What happens? I was wondering what you think about to what degree that is imperative for the league, for the health of the league. Like, do there have to be a couple of guys that sort of the whole ecosystem revolves around?
Well, I having been drafted in 1984 in the midst of the Bird Magic explosion of the NBA, I think people would assume that it was Larry and Magic, and then it was Michael Jordan for a few years, and then but things are changing. The roster construction seems to be evolving in a slightly different direction, if not a pretty significantly different direction. And it's possible that there are always going to be stars, but identifying with teams may become more of a significant thing than just the star aspect of it. We'll have to see. It's such a dynamic business, and it's so quickly changing, and it can change on a moment in a moment, much like a playoff series can. But I just think the league is so healthy right now because there are so many great young players that have personality, that are such great promoters of the game simply by virtue of how they play the game, with their joy, with their love. It's moving away from an isolation league to really more of a team type game. Oklahoma plays that way. We try to play that way, and so time will tell. But LeBron James and Steph Curry, I mean, those guys are still they're still the gold standard, really. I mean, they're still it, and those guys have been absolutely beyond belief.
Thank you, Coach.
Jordan Davis with Oklahoma. Tyrese, first, it's kind of a two-part question. First off, how does it feel to actually finally be here at the NBA Finals? And then secondly, can you just detail the last 24 hours with you? I know that, the plane got diverted from Tulsa because of the tornado. Just what was your reaction to that?
No, I'm excited to be here. Obviously, the finals is a very special thing and something I've wanted to be a part of, my whole life. And so to be here means the world, and I'm just, taking it all in, soaking it all in, and really excited, for this moment. As far as yesterday, we took off, and I slept the whole plane ride, which I don't normally do. and we landed, and I was ready to get up, and they said we were in Tulsa. We sat there for another hour, and then we took off again and felt like we were in the air again for another hour and a half. We didn't land here until time we landed 7, which normally would be 8 back home, so it's a 5-hour travel day. We might as well just travel to Portland or something. But yeah, no, it was a long travel day, but what can you do? You can't. None of us can control the weather. There's worse problems in life. We'll be fine.
Jeff on the right side.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Tyrese, you guys have faced some pretty talented point guards in the playoffs. You get another one here. I was wondering, when you watch Shai during the regular season, do you watch it as someone you might be competing against in a situation like this? Are you able to look at his game from purely I enjoy basketball perspective? And what are some of those thoughts you have when you do watch him play?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the above. You have to watch him and understand you're in the same league. So, of course, you're going to have to compete against him at some point. What he's been able to do this year has been amazing. He's an amazing player, the MVP of our league, rightfully so for a reason. And I think we're looking forward to the challenge of competing against him and this whole group for that matter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. They're a great team, well coached. He's an amazing player, and it's going to be a fun series.
Standing over here on the left.
What's up, man? Jerry McCain, NBA player correspondent. My question is, being a lead point guard in the NBA, how do you balance attacking the basket, being aggressive for yourself, but also managing passing to others and making sure everybody's involved?
Yeah, I think there's ebbs and flows to it. There's never a consistent right answer. I'm at my best when I'm obviously more aggressive, but I think every game calls for something different. And I'm not perfect. I have bad games, and I'll have a game where I shoot 5 shots and I pass the ball too much, and I'll have a game where I shoot too much and probably could have passed a little more. So there's no right or wrong answer, and I think the best thing to do is just learn from experience. And not like I'm a vet or OG or anything. I'm in year 5, but I just try to learn as much as I can from these experiences, to help me, as my career goes forward.
On your right, Mark Spears.
Mark Spears, ESPN's Landscape. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Just talk about what your dad has meant to you. I know he's gotten a lot of news in the other direction, but what has he meant to you in your basketball journey and also as a father?
Yeah, obviously my relationship with my pops is well documented. He means the world to me. He's been my biggest fan my whole life. My dad doesn't think that I can do any wrong. He thinks my whole life he's always said I'm the best. I'm going to be the best. And, we have a very close relationship growing up. My dad got laid off when I was in elementary school, so I lived down the road from the elementary and the middle school, and so I would make my dad drive me every day, and that was just how we connected. And then growing up, he started working 3rd shift, so my only real time to connect with him was in the morning. We would watch Sports Center or whatever together in the morning before he would drop me off at school and sleep for the rest of the day until he had to ref or whatever the case was. So me and my dad are really close, and obviously that's well documented. I'm excited that he's going to be in the building, and the NBA has allowed him to be back in Indy as well. And I think that the commentary around my dad got a little ridiculous. And of course I'm going to say that I'm his son, and it got a little over the top. He was wrong, and that is what it is. And I don't think any of us want to be defined by our worst moments, and that's just sports media. Sometimes we just take a super good thing or a super bad thing and overblow it, and it is what it is. But he's learned from it, and it won't happen again. But love my pops dearly, and really thankful that he's going to be in the building, and along with me on this journey.
Back left.
Michael Pina, The Ringer. Tyrese, what makes Alex Caruso such an effective defender on and then even more so off the ball?
I think he's just got a great basketball mind. He's got a really high IQ as a defender, and just as a basketball player in general. It seems like he's always in the right spots. And then I saw a Zach LaVine interview the other day where he called him like a crash dummy. He's just willing to put his body in so many different places and just do whatever it takes to win. And he's a great player. And last year, my last couple of years having to deal with him in Chicago, I was glad he was out of our division, and here we are again. So definitely excited to compete against him and this whole team.
Tim on the right, the front.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Tyrese, congrats on getting here.
Appreciate it.
When or if did you stop being fueled by doubters? You were passed up a few times in the draft, obviously, and was it getting the second contract, Olympic gold medal? Like, has there been a moment where you're like, okay, I no longer have to be fueled by this stuff, or in some way, is that still a driving force for you?
No, I've never stopped. It'll never stop. That's just I think that's part of my drive. Obviously, I want to be the best. I want to be, I want to be great. I want to squeeze every ounce of God-given ability that I have to be the best player I can be. But any doubt is always good for me. I love to hear that stuff, and I'll continue to tell you guys in certain moments that it doesn't matter what people say, but it matters, and I enjoy it. I think it's just. I think the greats try to find, external motivation as much as they can, and that's something that's always worked for me. Not that, it doesn't I understand what you're saying. It doesn't solidify who I am. I know who I am. I don't need anybody to tell me who I am or who I am as a player or a person. I'm grounded in myself, and I think a lot of that is through, the Lord and Jesus and knowing who I am. But I think that extra doubt, that extra fuel always helps.
Over here, third row, center.
Deportes en Línea, Dominican Republic. What can you remember playing alongside Chris Duarte?
Great teammate of mine. Loved playing alongside him. A guy that I still have a relationship with to this day. And when I got traded here, he was a big part of helping me in my transition here. So, I got a lot of love for CD and his fam.
Vince?
Tyrese, right in the middle. Vince Gould, Yahoo Sports. Congrats on getting here. The two best teams with the best record since January 1st has been you guys in Oklahoma City, yet there's this decided advantage people see Oklahoma City having. You're one of the biggest underdogs in recent NBA Finals history. How do you see that? How do you take that? Do you see it that way? Do you see Oklahoma City being this great team that you're going to have to upset? How do you view this series basically from 30,000 feet?
Yeah, they're a great team. They're historically great on both sides of the ball. They have the MVP. There's so many different things that you could name down the list of why they are so great at what they do and why they're such a great team. And, we know that this is a great team. And I wouldn't want to, if we were to win a championship, I don't want to win any other way. I don't want to go around or go over. I want to go through. You want to go through the best team. You want to go through the best challenge. So this is the best challenge, and this is the best team in the NBA. It's been the best team in the NBA all year, and they're well coached. They just do everything so well. So there's no shortcuts to beating this team. And we know the odds are stacked against us, but it is what it is. We want to be here. We want to play against the best, and this is the best. So we're looking forward to the challenge as a group.
Joe, final question right here.
Hey, Ty. You've talked about this before. Maybe it was when you signed your extension. But being from Oshkosh and then going through Ames, and now you're in Indianapolis, which is a small market. And you know that small market has been kind of a discussion this week. I guess within that light, can you describe, the charm or what you like about playing in Indianapolis?
Well, yeah. I'm from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Town of like 70,000 people. There's nothing to do. I didn't have anything to do growing up. I stayed in the house or went to the local YMCA to play basketball, or went to the high school to play, or went to my park at Oakland Elementary, or whatever the case was. There wasn't a ton to do. So I just think in my life, I really feel like right now in my life, I'm not talking about basketball, but in the off season or whatever, I think I could live anywhere and be just fine. As long as I got my dog, my video game, and a court, I'll be fine. So I just feel like being in Indy, it's a great place for me. And it's Indy is a much bigger place than I'm even accustomed to. And I know people say it's a small market or whatever the case is, but I'm not. I didn't grow up somewhere where it was much bigger, have more to do. So I love being in Indy. Indy's been a great place for me and my family. My whole family lives there now, so we love being there. It's a lot of fun for me. I don't need the glitz and glamour of a large city or anything. I really like the I think maybe hometown, small town feel from our fans, right? I think OKC can relate to that as well. Our home court advantages are different because people are really passionate about our teams, and their parents were passionate about the team, and their parents before that were passionate about the team. So I think that's a different type of home court advantage or a different type of fan than like a bigger city, if that makes sense. So that's why I enjoy being a part of it and why I want to be a part of it, for the rest of my career. I really enjoy, being a Pacer.
Thank you, Tyrese. Pascal's coming right up.
Hello. Scott Kamsel from The Score. Obviously, this will be finals appearance number 2 for you. I was curious if you see any similarities between the 2019 Raptors team and the current Pacers team you're on.
I feel like I've asked this question a lot. I think you got to be a great team to get to the finals. I think it's 2 great teams. Obviously different in a lot of ways, but also just some similarities in terms of just like playing the game the right way, having some level of defense, which ultimately gets to winning, and I think a mix of veterans and also young players, which I thought we had also back in 2019. So it's different in a lot of ways, but also some similarities.
Michael here in the front.
Michael Grange from Sportsnet, and a little bit on that theme. First of all, congratulations on that Eastern Conference Finals award. You were one of the young guys. Now you're a vet, and maybe do you find yourself kind of drawing on some of the experiences you had alongside Kawhi or alongside Kyle, just as the playoffs get deeper and deeper? Do some of those lessons resonate even more than they used to?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think one of the things for me I learned, just from those guys is like no matter what, we just always felt like we had a chance. And when we got down, we're down 0-2 against Milwaukee. Like we've had a series where it was really tough, and we had to go in Philly and win games on the road. And I think all those experiences kind of definitely stays with me, and trying to transfer that spirit to my team in terms of being down or whatever in a game or whatever happens, just always playing the right way and understanding that you always have a chance. So that's something I probably say I learned from those guys for sure.
5th row on the right.
Myron Patton, OKC Sports Radio. You guys got off to a slow start this season, 10-15, but at the beginning of the year really turned things around. What led to the big turnaround, and what are those things you think will help you in this series?
No, I thought, obviously starting the year, we didn't start the way we wanted to. We had a lot of guys in and out of the lineups, some injuries, some things, and I just thought we stuck to the plan. We just continued to be ourselves, and when we had everyone back healthy, we just started playing good basketball, playing together, defense improved, and just a lot of things that you need as a team to be able to be successful. So I thought we started rocky, but we just stayed steady and just kept being ourselves, and eventually, we got better.
Esper Heaney for NBA Daily. A lot of people are asking about the 2019 finals, but it's been 6 seasons since then, and I'm wondering for yourself, that journey that you've had from that first finals run to now this one, what have you learned about yourself and your game and how you've developed over the last 6 years?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, I would say. A lot of tough times for sure, and just learning from adversity. I thought it just wasn't kind of always pretty, which I think made me who I am. And just being in this moment now where I can just know that I've been through like almost everything as a player, and a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and that's just all makes the journey sweeter, and for me, I enjoy all those moments, and it makes me just appreciate everything even more, and just play freely out there.
On your right, Mark Spears.
Mark Spears, ESPN's Landscape. How do you compare your journey and the amazing obstacles you made to get to the NBA versus what African players and the resources they have now? And also, what kind of role model are you for, aspiring African players to get to the NBA?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I think for me, coming in as a young player, just not really having played any basketball really, having to learn on the fly, and I think at that time it was mostly like when you was a big guy from Cameroon, you just came in and you was a big and you ran, you dunked. Like that's pretty much what it was. And I think for me, I can see that evolving now. With guys my size being able to do different things, and now with the NBA going in Africa, like it's just there's so much more development, and guys are getting a lot better, and the skills are being learned early on. Something that I had to do really late in my career. So it's evolving, and I hope I can be one of those guys that some young guys can look at and be like, look at his journey and the things that he's able to accomplish and how he did it, and they can take it as an example. Like I really don't look at myself like, oh, I'm a role model or anything, but I just feel like you can look at my journey and be like, man, like he did it, and he did it the hard way, and there was no shortcuts, and someone that gave everything, just worked hard, put his head down, and no matter the obstacles, and he just kept working, and I think that's something I want to tell young players. It's not going to be easy. Nobody's going to give you anything. You're probably going to have less opportunity because you come from where you come from, and as long as you understand the odds against yourself, and that you just go out there, no nonsense, you just work on your game, I think you can accomplish big things. So I hope that they can look at my journey and be like, yeah, that's someone that did it that way.
Over here on your left, third row.
Jamal Collier from ESPN. I got two quick ones for you, Pascal. The first one about your relationship with Tyrese and just how you've seen that grow and develop in the year and a half since you've been here.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I said I remember, when I first got here, and we got on the phone, we talked, and there was just like a mutual understanding about just what we want to accomplish. It's all about winning, and for me, I was just kind of excited that we have that same mindset. We just didn't care about nothing else but winning, and I think that's something that draw us to each other, and just for me, just being that presence that he can have, someone that he can talk to, that's been in these situations before, and for me as a player, being out there with someone that's selfless and just plays the game the right way, and it feels great, he's a great person to be around, and also a great player to play with, and I think that's our relationship has been growing, and we definitely have the same mindset.
And then just you guys haven't lost back-to-back games since March, and I think Tyrese has said a couple of times that the film sessions in between can get like pretty brutal, pretty honest, sort of pointing out mistakes. Just what are those film sessions like with Rick Carlisle after a loss? Kind of what do you think makes him so good at making adjustments?
I mean, I think we just look at ourselves. It's like the film is there; it doesn't lie, right? So you look at it and you see what you can do better, and just being honest about what we need to do to get better. And I'm glad that the guys been able to just turn the page on whatever has happened before and just move on.
Last two. It's third row over here on the right, and second row.
Hey, Pascal. Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. You and the Pacers and the Thunder have the two best records since January 1st, yet the Thunder are a decided favorite in this series. Do you look at them as this historically great team, this huge undertaking and challenge, or do you see this as more of a series that's evenly matched? Like, how do you view this coming in?
I think we focus on ourselves. Like, I think I don't think we expect anyone to pick us, and that's been like that the whole playoffs. It's been like that the whole season. So I think for us, nothing really changes. We just continue to be ourselves, focus on us, and it's always been us against everyone, so it doesn't change.
Last one on your right.
Alexandre Tournier de RDS. Question en français pour toi, Pascal. Qu'est-ce que ça te fait d'être de retour dans la finale pour la première fois en 6 ans? Et à quel point ton expérience de 2019, justement, va être bénéfique pour toi cette année?
Ouais, ça fait très plaisir d'être revenu à ce stage-ci. Je me rappelle, j'ai de très belles mémoires de 2019 et de ce qu'on a pu accomplir à Toronto et avec mon équipe. Donc, ouais, ça fait très plaisir de revenir à ce niveau-ci. Et aussi de savoir que, ouais, pour mon équipe, c'est un plus d'avoir quelqu'un qui est déjà arrivé à ce niveau-ci, qui a déjà vu tout ce qui se passe. Donc, ouais, ça fait très plaisir d'être ici. Et puis, on espère que ça va nous aider en équipe.
Thank you. Myles Turner will be right up. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, appreciate it, man.
First question right here in the center.
Myles, regardless of the outcome of the finals, how do you want this team to be remembered for?
I want people to see our play style and be inspired. You know what I mean? We don't have it's not like we have 2 or 3, superstars on one team. Well, we thrive off of ball movement. We thrive off of playing together. And I don't know, I just want them to have that feeling that, you can achieve anything through unity.
Tomer on the right, second row.
Tomer Zarli with Clutch Points. Myles, congrats on getting here. I'm curious about Tyrese. He's such a unique player with his the shot or his ability to take care of the ball. What's the thing that's impressed you the most about him over the years that you've been with him now?
What's impressed me the most with him is how he carries himself. I think that obviously he's a very confident person. He puts his full personality on display. But for someone as young as he is and someone who just got thrust in a position, he got a lot of stuff coming up real fast. Whether it was the Olympic gold medal or the All NBA shoe deal, whatever you want to call it. Like, it takes a lot to be the man. Everybody sees the glitz and the glory, but some tough days. And I think he's handled himself really well.
Stay on the right, Alvaro on the third row.
Alvaro Martin of Ritmo. In terms of your team's passing and ball movement, you mentioned, and you're the longest tenure Pacers you will remember. Under McMillan, the team passed, but it didn't stand out as a great passing team in terms of the number of passes per game. Mm-hmm. Then Nate Bjorken came in 2021, and the team got turbocharged. You were second in the league. Mm-hmm. And then Rick came in and kept you third, second, or first in the league in his years, where his last 4 teams in Dallas were 7th worst.
Yeah.
Tell us how philosophically you felt the imprint of first Nate, then Rick, and then what it took for you, particularly you in your position, to be part of this flow.
Yeah. Nate's team was a little different because we had, I think it was more of an ISO team. You know what I mean? Yeah, we passed the ball, but we had more like isolation players, if you will. And I think that's where we thrived a little bit more. Then when Nate B came in, I think that he came from that Toronto Raptors system where they thrived off of just junkyard dog or junking the game up. So we would just try so many different, I don't know if you call them sets or actions, whatever you want to call it, but we wreaked havoc on defense and that was able to supercharge our offense. And now with Rick, Rick was a coach that he used to like to call play every single possession. Even Rick's first year here, we had a game where he did that. He stopped us and called a play every single possession. But in the dawn of this new NBA, and especially in the playoffs, that stuff doesn't work. It's easy to scout. But when you have random movement on offense and guys that are someone like Tyrese who's head of the snake who wants to pass the ball, it makes the game a little bit easier, especially for a guy like myself who thrives with space.
Standing on the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Myles, congratulations. The challenge of this Oklahoma City defense, where it seems like they can kind of be whatever they need to be on any given possession. They can cross-match a small onto you. They can put a big on your smalls. They can play straight. They can play zone. When you know that there's like a full menu like that available to them, how does that impact your preparation for what you guys need to be able to do offensively?
Well, the fact that they play similar to us, we've been seeing that every day since training camp. You know what I mean? I realize that this is a different stage, this is a different team, but we prepare and train so hard for moments like such. So, yeah, we know that where they have their calling card, whether it's swarming the ball defensively or, wreaking havoc, as you call it. But at the same time, when you prepare that way and when you go into battle that way, nothing is really new. So, again, it's going to be an adjustment period. You got to get your baseline, game one, and you take it from there. But, again, I think we're looking forward to the challenge.
Michael here up front.
Myles, Michael Grange from Sportsnet in Toronto. You made a point at the when you guys won the Eastern Conference Finals of kind of shouting out Pascal as a G League MVP. Mm-hmm. I wonder why that came through your mind at that point, and maybe you as a veteran here, how has Pascal complemented and become part of the leadership group here?
Yeah. Well, for your first question, the G League is a grind. People don't have enough appreciation for what it takes to work your way up. From I guess a lot of people want to refer to it as a bottom. I don't see it as that. It's a developmental league. So you go to the develop, and he was able to develop into an MVP on a championship team there. So you take those same habits and you apply them to this level, and they're already ingrained in your head. And he was able to do the same thing at the biggest stage. So, yeah, I think Pascal is someone who has actually been there before, who's actually seen the ups and the downs, the highs and lows, and knows how an NBA Finals media day works, which I didn't. There's little stuff like that. It helps. Helps bringing something like that into your locker room. And he's grown himself into one of the better players in our league's history.
Front center.
Hey, Myles, you said earlier this playoffs that this is the most fun you've ever had playing basketball.
What is it about this team that allows you, even with all the pressures of the playoffs, to have fun as a group?
We rely on each other so much. You know, the pressure isn't as heavy as it once was in my career. I feel like any given night, it can be anybody can go off. You know, this roster 1 through 15, and I feel like a lot of players just say that, but like I actually mean that, and I think that's been on full display for the past month, 2 months of the season and whatnot. And no, man, it's just exciting times, and I'm just taking every single moment, just taking every single moment in. You never know if you ever be on the stage again. So while I'm here, I'm going to make the most of it.
Fourth row on your left.
Myles Turner from ESPN Brazil. I know that you are a huge Lego fan. Does it help to control your anxiety before those moments? And I want to know if you already have a Larry O'Brien, or is this the next one on your list?
Well, to answer your first question, it is definitely something that helps me center myself. It helps me get grounded. Just putting together Lego puzzles, Rubik's cubes, crosswords, whatever it is, like little stuff like that, just takes my mind away from work, if you will. We all need our escapes. You all work hard. You guys write your articles. You interview players and everything. But just like us, like we have to get away. Have to try to find a way just to feel human again. There's a way of dehumanizing us when it comes to just hoops. You see us on TV and you think we're machines, but all have that same emotion. So it can be good for anxiety. It can be good just to chill. Be good just to get away. And as far as Larry O'Brien, after you win, that's when you do stuff like that. But it's just I like what Lego encompasses, because this entire process has been a brick by brick thing. You just build a little bit each day by day by day by day, and then finally you have a beautiful picture at the end of it.
David, right side.
Hey, Myles, you cited the power of friendship
Yeah.
the other day. And I wonder, this is a copycat league, and one of these teams is going to win a championship, building a roster in a very unusual and different way. But what are the kind of potential headwinds to that, whether it's money, shots, acclaim, wanting to be the man, all of the things that kind of conspire against the power of friendship?
Absolutely. So when you come into this league, you're the man everywhere you go, right? In high school, you were the man. In college, you're the man. You get here, you have to fall into a niche or a role. And, when you're trying to build a championship roster, a lot of stuff gets in the way. You have individual accolades. Everybody wants to be an all-star. Everybody wants all NBA. Everybody wants all the glitz and the glory, the shoe deals that comes with this. But I've just been in this league long enough to know that stuff fades. You know what I mean? And championships are forever. At the end of the day, you sign a big shoe deal, that deals up in 5, maybe 6 years or whatnot. Championships are forever, and that's something it's huge to me. And it's easy just to have players come in and whether it's your circle, whether it's your peoples, whether it's online, they get in your head a little bit, and it's like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. When you start spending so much time with a group of people, like more time than you spend with your own family, I don't have any kids, but like your own kids or just people around, like, you have to learn tendencies. You have to learn, what makes each other go. And yeah, man, that power of friendship thing is real, bro, because especially when you get in moments like these, you can rely on each other, as opposed to, relying on trying to be an all-star or a shoe deal or this and that, so, yeah.
Last one, standing on the right.
Myron Patton, OKC Sports. I asked Pascal this, and I want to get your opinion, too. You guys got off to a slow start, but first of the year, you kind of turned things around. What were those things that allowed you to turn it around, and how can it help you this series? And one other note, you're from Dallas. How many family you got coming up?
Yeah. So the beginning of that question, yeah, I think the beginning of this year was the best thing that could have happened to us. You come off an Eastern Conference Finals run, and you start to feel good about yourself a little bit, like you've actually accomplished something. And, for a lot of us, it was huge. I had never been there before. It's pretty much everybody in the roster's first time in the playoffs last year. So that adversity that we hit, it kind of slapped us back into reality a bit. And I think we needed that. I think we needed that as a group, to see some adversity. And, once we stared that in the eye and got past that, we started to build towards, where we are now. We kept the main thing. And yeah, Dallas is 3 hours away. I have plenty of friends and family that are, supporting me back home. I'm not buying tickets for everybody, so I got about 3-4 people that are coming. That's about it. And then, but I know I have a lot of love and support down the road, man. Texas and Oklahoma, the ties run deep, so it's a beautiful time of the year.
Thank you, Myles.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.